Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Guilty as Charged podcast. Today, I have a special guest. That's Gavino from Chargers Wire. I like to bring in different guests because they're all smarter than I am, and they can break things down in a way that I absolutely cannot. And in particular, defense, because I have not paid attention to all 22 defensive film at all. Gavino loves this stuff. So today, we're going to talk about two very young pass rushers. One at the end of his deal, it's Uchenna Nwosu, and one at the very beginning of his deal, Chris Rumph. But before we get started, Gavino, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Good, excellent. So before we get into this, and we are going to start with Nwosu and then transition to Rumph, but I wanted to get your sense of, or what were your expectations for Nwosu heading into the season? What did you think of him, and what did he need to show to get an extension or be re-signed by the team?
I think he was a candidate for a breakout player on this team, just given that he was going to go into a starting role opposite Joey Bosa.
Right.
What Brandon Staley did last year with Leonard Floyd. So I think these expectations were high among the fan base. Again, throughout the year, he showed glimpses, but nothing too dominant. And we just knew that he was on the cusp of a breakout performance. And then it just so happened to come this past weekend against the Bengals.
No, and much needed. I was actually surprised that this was his first 2-sack game of his career. I would have guessed he had at least one before, but this is the first one. Hey, hopefully it's a sign of good things to come, and they're going to need him. And he performed, it's one thing to perform opposite of Joey Bosa. It's another thing to do it in his absence. For him to show up in a game like this, big AFC opponent, and without Joey Bosa was a big deal. So I can't wait to look at this. I have not watched any of this. So Gavino, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you 5 plays from Nwosu this past weekend. So the first one being the strip sack, which came early on. So he's working against left tackle Jonah Williams, so he's going to be on the right side of the line from your perspective here. So what he's going to do is he's going to try to hit him with a little hesitation. What he wants to do is freeze up the blocker and shorten the edge to make it more of a clear path to get to Joe Burrow. So I'll go ahead and run this through. We can see here he goes with a little hesitation, so he's trying to get him with the jab step inside, little head bob. He doesn't fall for that. But you can see here he gets that initial inside leverage. So he's just driving. He contorts his body. He bends the edge a little bit, swipes the hands away, is able to beat the blocker there, gets his hands on the ball, recovers it. Great play. Next play here, this is a good illustration of what Brandon Staley did. So he was utilizing the stunt game. So right here on the right side of the line has Jerry Tillery inside and then Nwosu on the outside of him. So what Jerry Tillery is going to do is he's going to crash through this gap. Once he hits that gap, he's going to loop around. Hakeem Adeniji picks this up, but this just goes to show great leverage, great power. He's pushing him all the way back into the pocket. Incomplete pass.
Really nice.
Before I go on to the next play, I just want to touch up on Nwosu's game a little bit. So coming out of college, he was a guy that relied purely on leverage, burst, and power. He's not a guy that's going to win with a variety of hand tactics. He doesn't have the greatest bend, so he's going to be one of those straight liner guys. He's going to push you back in the pocket, and we kind of saw with that first play a little bit, he'll try to work with some inside moves, and if those don't work, he's going to go straight at you and try to disrupt the pocket in that way. Right here, this just goes to show pressure from both sides. Joe Burrow was kind of running for his life for the most part, so he was evading the pocket a lot, and a lot of effort pressures, a lot of effort sacks too. So he's working against Isaiah Prince. Isaiah Prince is going to get that right arm into his chest place. He's going to swipe that. He gets his hands on. You see this pressure right here from Covington and Fackrell that's going to have him evade the pocket right here. Great recognition to see that he's stepping into the pocket, is able to get that hit. Great play by Kaiser White. Minimal gain right there. This next one here, he is going to be working against the left tackle again. And just like I was talking about a little while ago, this perfectly illustrates that. So he's going to go speed, power right here. He gets that initial leverage right there. Look at the left tackle.
That's not good.
He doesn't even have his hands up. But this is just a perfect play altogether. It was a collaborative effort, but Nwosu won his rep. Tillery is winning his rep right here. And then you're going to see Drew Tranquil come through this gap right here. So he keeps pushing. Joe Burrow's evading. He gets through. But look at this effort by Nwosu and Tillery to chase him down the field. They make the play. Just awesome. You love to see that.
Yeah, good call.
Great effort. the last play by Nwosu that I'm going to show you, again, a stunt. So they're going to be here on the left side of the line. We're also going to get some pressure right here from the right side. So Tillery's going to hit that gap. He's going to loop around. Look at this left guard right here. So he kind of gets him in a headlock right here. So hold.
Yeah.
Yep. Joe Burrow, no room. He still makes the play. That's his second sack.
Wow.
Look as he gets up right here. Throws his hands up in the air. Let you know, 7 pressures, 2 sacks. Great performance by Nwosu right there.
Wow, no, that's excellent stuff. I mean, and you talked about everything that you've seen from, him just being a speed, maybe a power guy, a guy who just very athletic and a high motor guy for sure. But to see him develop in this way, I think is really great. So I guess the $1 million question is, at this point, do you feel, and maybe it's considering his current trajectory, do you feel that they re-sign him after this season, or do they not? And if they re-sign him, is it as a, kind of the third guy, kind of when they had Ingram and Bosa and then Nwosu, or do you think it's as the guy opposite Joey Bosa for the next X amount of years?
I think it depends on how he plays for the rest of the season, but at the same time, I kind of view this offseason of Brandon Staley like wanting to get his guys, because the cap space that the Chargers have, they're going to have like the most cap space among any teams, and they're going to have quite a bit of draft picks too. So I kind of view this as a year of Brandon Staley trying to go out and get his guys. I don't know if Nwosu fits that mold because he lacks the length and everything. You can kind of see with more of a Nwosu what fits his mold. Just like with the size dimensions with Nwosu, it's pretty average. And I don't know if he necessarily fits what he wants. Yes, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker,
right,
defender, but this could be one of those scenarios where they just let him go altogether and Brandon Staley just go all out for players that fit his defense and that system altogether. Because I feel like that's been a question that's been
right
too. Defense has had its down games, and we've questioned the personnel too.
Right.
So I wonder if that's going to be on their mind too. And then just aside from the Joey Bosa, the Derwin James, and the Kaiser White, of course, Kaiser White has earned the right to be extended. In my opinion, that's 100% a priority in terms of just the internal free agents that they need to consider. But Nwosu is probably on the cusp, and I think it just depends on how he plays the rest of the season. But regardless, if he continues to keep up this play right here, he's auditioning for other teams too, so he can get some money elsewhere if the Chargers don't decide to bring him back altogether.
So, all right, great. So we're going to jump into Chris Rumph right now, but before we get into him, I just wanted to know what you thought of him before the draft and up into the draft, maybe why he fell into the 4th round, and then kind of what you've viewed like his season so far, because it's tough to gauge because he's had a lot of reps, and really he's only been this was his game with the most reps, if I'm not mistaken, because of injuries, because Murray is not really their edge that they're using. So what did you think of him before the draft, and then how has his season played out so far?
Your typical Brandon Staley edge defender. I had quite a few guys listed, jotted down, and actually he didn't make the cut initially. Like I had quite a few different guys, and then I wrote up a scouting report on him, but I didn't really view him as that. But then when they drafted him, I looked back at the scouting report and I was wondering why I didn't have him tabbed as a type of guy that Brandon Staley would draft. And then it all made sense. So he's your guy that's going to rely purely on athleticism, length, effort. He doesn't have a bunch of pass rush moves to go to. Again, he's got the body flexibility to kind of get through gaps, which I'm going to show you with this first play here. But he's going to be your high motor type player. He's not going to give up, and that's how he generates the pressures and sacks. He doesn't have the great pass rush moves that you see with these other guys that they do with their hands and all. But another thing too is he doesn't have the strength. That was always a question. Coming out of college, he needs to put on the desired muscle strength to be able to perform at a high level. And one of the plays that I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit does kind of illustrate that, because if you see pictures of him, you can see that he's starting to get a little bulk to him. And that's a good sign to see, because you don't want to have a guy with this size. A good example right here is like Raiders' Max Crosby. He came into the league. He was pretty small too, but he did put some size on over time. You can see it now, and look at him.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm sure Chargers fans would love to have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Max Crosby opposite Joey Bosa sounds pretty good to me. especially
probably
for.
not the best player to bring up at the same time.
Hey, listen, you know, if you can generate
going.
60, 70 pressures a season, it's cool by me, especially for a fourth round pick.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he entered training or watching him at Duke, just a guy that wasn't, I mean, he just was kind of a slender guy, and you could almost call him like a linebacker at that point.
Yeah.
Not really, but he wasn't exactly an edge rusher, but he entered when we saw him in camp and at the games, he bulked up quite a bit. I'm actually curious how much bigger he's gotten because he looks like a completely different player. And I'm glad to see it's going to translate.
245 now. I think he entered in 235. You know how they always lie in college about their
yes. And Rashad Bateman was like 6'4" 4 years ago. Now he's like 5'9" or something.
Right. And we can see like the combine numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, great. Okay. Well, I can't wait to watch. Take it away.
So his first play isn't necessarily a pass rush play, more of a run play. But I just want to show you what he does so well, how he's able to get into the backfield. We're going to have two pullers from the left guard and the H-back come around. What Chris Rumph does is he evades this. So he slithers through this gap right here. So you can kind of see they're coming directly at him. And look at that gap right there. They don't even get their hands on him. That just goes to show the body flexibility and just the looseness that he brings. And that's a good example right there. So that really stood out to me. From the broadcast tape, I was wondering what was going on there, but I could see Rumph. He was able to get into the backfield. I thought he looped around the edge to get there, but just to see like him get through that gap, they're not even able to get their hands on him, get a clean block.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't necessarily make the play right here, but again, he forces it inside lane where running back has nowhere to go. It's Justin Jones who makes the play. I thought
that's impressive.
Play.
Mm-hmm.
This next play here, he's going to be working against the tight end. So this just goes to show the lack of counters, the lack of strength to get into the backfield. So what he's initially going to do is he's going to go with a club with his left arm. So he's going to get on his shoulder. So he's going to hit him the club here. That doesn't work. So he's going to go with an arm over that right arm. That doesn't work. And he's going to try to go into a rip. So he's going to get underneath that armpit. With this pressure over here, Joe Burrow's going to be stepping into the pocket, but he sees that he's going to do that. So he counters with an inside spin, and he's able to make the play.
All right.
Behind the receiver. So, again, regardless if he's completely blocked, he's never going to give up on plays.
Mm-hmm.
You can see there. He doesn't have the great pass rush moves. He tried. He went with the club to an arm over into a rip. It didn't get home, but he was able to see that Joe Burrow was stepping into the pocket, and he countered with an inside spin.
Yeah, wow.
Get home, apply the quarterback hit pressure. Next one here. This is what I was talking about with the strength.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a guy that typically when blockers got his hands on him, he was done. Again, he wouldn't have necessarily give up, but we actually see some push right here, and this is a promising sign. So he's going up here against the right tackle. He gets the inside hand placement. Look how much he like pushes the right tackle back into backfield. That's not a bad sign to see from a guy that just was completely washed out of plays right there. He was able to push him all the way back into Joe Burrow. So he just went with a simple speed power move. But again, while he remained blocked, you like to see that he was able to generate some push because, again, you don't expect him in his rookie season to be this guy that's going to be knocking blockers over. But if he's able to show that he has some desired power to get some push into the pocket, it's good to see. Incomplete pass. Right here, he's going to be working against the right tackle. This is actually his first career sack. There's not anything spectacular with this. Again, he needs to get better with those counters. He's going to need to get stronger as opposed to just relying on just up the field, seeing if something happens. So Isaiah Price is going to get his right arm on him initially right there. With this pressure from here on the left side, Joe Burrow's going to have nowhere to go. So he's going to kind of just be maneuvering his way in the pocket. But he doesn't give up right here. So you can kind of see like how he can go down. He's chasing him still while he's blocked up. Yep, he's able to get free. He meets him right there. That's his first sack right there. So even though he remained blocked in, he was still able to peek his head through, seeing of where Joe Burrow is going. And I think that's what gives blockers fits, is the fact that he doesn't give up on plays. So regardless, like even if he goes on the ground for a little bit, he's going to get back up and he's going to probably just chase you down the field. Because I saw that on a game against Notre Dame. He was completely blocked on the field, but he just chased. And I think you probably remember that play too, in particular. Yep. And then right here, the last play that I'm going to show you is another stunt right here. So we got Joe Gaziano and him working on the right side of the line right here. Gonna hit this gap. He's got a clear opening up the middle. He's going to work. Boom. Joe Burrow doesn't even see him. Gets that quarterback hit. Incomplete pass into the sideline. So again, that's Nwosu and Rumph right there.
Yeah.
It was a collaborative effort altogether, but those two players stood out in particular. Nwosu, of course, because he had a career game, and then with Chris Rumph because he received the most snaps that he did due to the loss of Joey Bosa. So he benefited from that. But we were able to see some glimpses from Rumph, and then with Nwosu, we were able to see kind of some flashes of, okay, we're going to keep this type of performances moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like this weekend there's a good chance because they're playing a Giants offensive line who hasn't been the greatest. So this is a good opportunity. One, you do have Joey Bosa coming back. That's great. But you also have Kyler Fackrell who won't be playing this weekend. That's a great opportunity for Chris Rumph.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. I mean, because beginning of the year, I think Chris Rumph was, the least productive rookie edge rusher at the time, up for like 10, 12 weeks. And Nwosu, at least before the bye, was playing well, high pass rush win rate, but really wasn't translating that to any kind of production, which you don't always have to, but it'd be nice to see, like someone who was, next to, I think, Chase Young in pass rush win rate, but he couldn't put the production there. So now that he's starting to, hopefully, that's a really, really good sign. So I guess the second $1 million question I'm going to ask you is, call your shot. What does the edge group look like next year? And that's including Fackrell, Rumph, and Nwosu. Obviously, Joey Bosa is sticking around. What do you think it looks like next year? You kind of hinted at it with Nwosu. Let's say Nwosu has a solid rest of the season, maybe not 2 sacks a game, but somewhere like, 4 pressures a game, a sack every other game, something like that. What do you see the edge rusher group looking like next year?
I'm going to go Joey Bosa, a rookie in the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Rumph and Fackrell.
Okay.
The edge group is loaded, and one guy that I can't get out of my head just pairing with Joey Bosa is Michigan's David Ojabo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And I know that Arjun has mentioned him. I've had my eyes on him as well. And Arjun even expressed like how cool that would be to be on like the team opposite Joey Bosa. But I feel like he'd fit that role really well. And I think he fits that profile of what Brandon Staley likes as an edge defender. But I'll go with a 1B. I'll say Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, you're speaking my language there.
Tyler Fackrell. It's going to be very interesting, cool to see what they do with that cap space because I can't remember the last time the Chargers were really at the top of cap space. Like they might even have like the most. Of course, they're going to have to worry about Derwin James, what they're going to do with someone like Mike Williams. Again, we're over here talking about franchise tagging him. So we've got some internal guys to take care of as well. But we're going to have some money to spend too, especially if they let go of a guy like Balaga and forgot how much that would clear up. But they're going to be loaded in cap space, and it'll be fun to see. Of course, an edge rusher like Hassan Reddick would be nice because he's experienced, so he'd be able to slide right in. And with a rookie edge rusher, the success rate is there, but you never know if you're going to get that same type of production. So I guess it just depends on what their flavor is and what they value at that position of, like immediate success, or if they want to be able to possibly develop a player. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, not just there, but a variety of positions, because while they have all this money and all that, we have a lot more holes than we realize. And for a team that's 7-5, you'd be like, okay, like we're in good standing, but we actually have quite a bit of holes to fill this offseason.
Yeah. No, it'd be such an interesting offseason. Yeah, the Balaga, I think they'll save another $10 million or something. They're already number 1 in cap space. They're going to be number 1 plus another $10 million in cap space. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I know Chargers fans, or some Chargers fans, are like, well, Telesco doesn't spend any money in free agency, yada yada. But like, A, that's not really true because last year he clearly did, and then B, this is like they've been waiting for this year. So hopefully, with all the draft picks, with all the cap space, they get this going. I tend to agree with you. I think that we'll see how Nwosu plays the rest of the year. But I feel like there's just another level that they want to reach with their edge rusher opposite Joey Bosa that they could reach with, like a Hassan Reddick. Listen, and Nwosu's great. Like, he's obviously played a great game, but that's his first 2-sack game. He's got like 25 pressures right now. Then you look at someone like Reddick, who has 40 pressures, 13 sacks, second in the league in run stops. Like, there's just another level that they could reach by chasing someone who's just a little bit better, either more experienced and ready to go, or just a better prospect. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it plays out. But anyway, this has been great. I think for right now, at least just for this year, no matter what, Chargers fans can feel good. This rotation looks really good. And they came at a good time. I guess Fackrell's out with a knee injury. I have no idea what that is going to be. Staley thinks he can come back. I don't really buy that, considering Bulaga kind of said the same thing. So then, having Rumph to step up and Nwosu potentially peaking at the right time, I think that's excellent. So, Gavino, thank you very much. Where can everyone find you? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, so you can find me at just Gavino Borquez, no spaces, nothing like that, no numbers, just Gavino Borquez. And I'm over at the Chargers Wire of USA Today sports media group, where I'll be continuing to release all my content. So you can find me there, check out my stuff there. And I'll also be doing some draft stuff. I've been in the thick of that, slowly getting into some draft prospects, and I'll continue to put some stuff out there. So if you want to give me a follow, you can kind of see what the Chargers might be looking into, what players they might be interested in as we get into the thick of December, and the playoffs are still coming up. But at the same time, we need to know what they're going to be doing, because I know Chargers fans are saying that they're going to have the 32nd pick and all that. But if that's the case,
course,
we're going to be carrying on until February. April will be here before you know it. So I just want to keep in the loop of what the Chargers might do come draft time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, the last time we were on a Zoom call, the Chargers were in a certain draft, in a certain round, drafting a certain player. Most of the draft room was kind of about this player.
Meanwhile, I'm over here.
Yeah, you like to pick quite a bit. That was Justin Herbert. So, hey, things are looking up. Definitely follow Gavino for sure. All right, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening. Follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully the Chargers remain consistent and win tomorrow against the Giants and bolt up.